Welcome back to Out of the Whale podcast. This episode, we're going to be talking about tithing, and it's more of a testimony versus, I guess, like a whole
teaching.
Is
Yeah.
that what you call those? I don't know. Anyways, nonetheless, okay, it just felt that the Lord has given us a lot to talk about on this topic and has just really shown me the importance of it. And I kind of want to be raw and open about things, so maybe oversharing, don't really care, because this is what the Lord has done, and I just hope it is an encouragement. And if you aren't faithfully tithing, maybe that scares you, because I know, people's finances, they really hold on to that, and it can be really scary.
Yeah, that's a big
to
one.
Like, what are you going to do if you have no money, right? So I just want to lay it all out on the table, at least what the Lord has done in our life, and hopefully by sharing that will build your faith. And if you, like I said, if you're not faithfully tithing, maybe it'll help you kind of surrender that to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a two-parter, because this is just, I guess, the way we're living our life now. But when we first moved here, we just, I'm trying to think back, but we just got hit with just all these financial burdens, basically.
Yeah, and there was kind of like I guess a practical reason that it happened too, like because you were working a completely different job.
Yes.
That was making way more money than what we're making now.
Right.
But we were called to move here to Corpus Christi, so we jumped ship.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to find new jobs very quickly.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like
it came with a cost.
Yeah, it came with obviously sacrifice and that kind of thing.
Right.
But I think looking back, at least what happened, it looks like we were living once one way, and then that caught up.
Yes.
Without the same amount of money.
I think that's a really good way to put that. Like, we were used to living a certain way, and so we just kept doing that. I think.
Yeah.
Not even really realizing that that's what we were doing.
And it wasn't anything crazy.
No.
We just were kind of careless.
Yeah.
Like I felt
had
like we
credit cards, and that was our backup, right? The credit cards were our backup. We had a loan, just all these things, right? You just get in that, I guess, cycle. And obviously that catches up with you. And we were just really stuck. We're like, I don't even know. Like, we can't pay everything. We can't pay our debt, our house, like something. We're going to have to cut stuff out. And it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to have to take that loss. And, but at this point, we were faithfully tithing. We were like, that is the one thing that we're not going to stop doing, because the only time that the Lord says to test him, and I believe it's in Malachi, is with your 10%. And I'm not saying donate or give your 10% because you're testing to see what the Lord will do. That's not what I believe he meant. I believe he really meant, test me in this way because you can trust me. Like, I'm not going to leave you. And so I held on to that truth, because I was like, Lord, like, we really don't have this money to be giving 10% of our income. We can't afford all this other stuff, right? Like, we're in debt, groceries, all this stuff. You're like, what do you do? That was the one thing we're like, we're going to continue to give that. That's the first thing we're going to give every single time we get paid, 10%. We're not cutting any less. Honestly, I was too scared to cut. Because I just fear the Lord.
Right. Once you're doing it, it's kind of hard.
And so trusted him. What we tried to do is take matters into our own hands. And we're like, well, what do other people do that don't have enough money? Well, they get second jobs. So we were like, well, I could work, because I was working in the evening. So I was like, well, I could get maybe a part-time job working a few hours in the morning, come home, and then I could work. And then when he gets off work, he can go work a few hours at night. And we'll just both have these part-time jobs and just like try to pour all of, like, we got ourselves into this mess. This is what we're going to have to do.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah, not good at all.
No.
Didn't move. I'm applying to fast food joints.
Like Whataburger.
Like Whataburgers. Like there's like 20 here.
Yeah.
And I applied to probably 3 or
Yeah.
5. I don't know.
Yeah,
Somewhere
there was a
around there.
lot.
There's a few that are right around my house that
Not
I was
one.
like,
Not
you
one
know,
called him back.
yeah,
Nothing.
crazy.
Nothing. And even like what I had applied for, there was nothing. I don't even remember. It was just odd little jobs here and there. Um and not one call. And that was something we had prayed about, like, Lord, don't even let him call us. Like, if this isn't something we're supposed to do, don't let them call us. Not one single call. Not one single phone call did we get from any place. We're like, okay. So it's not going to be okay, cool. And obviously that was really stressful because you're like, okay, then what are we going to do? If how most people get out of this mess is that, what are we going to do? And we just felt like we were supposed to wait. And so we did. And I think,
I shared it a little bit. My Genesis, like my Genesis story. Isaac's about to go to Egypt because there's a famine in the land, and then the Lord told him don't go, and for whatever reason that was like my don't move.
yeah,
You know,
don't move.
don't do anything.
Which again is a really scary thing. By the way, like I said, this entire time we never stopped tithing our 10%. That was the first thing that we gave. And again, when you don't have enough money to pay everything else, it's a really hard thing.
I mean, because that's a decent chunk.
So
that will
yeah,
help.
yeah. I mean, anything at that point is going to help.
I
But
just
also at the same time, you're like, well,
anything helps.
yeah, yeah. But fear of the Lord, right? You're like, no, I'm trusting you, Lord. Like, you know, we were dumb,
Yeah.
but you knew we would be dumb. You knew that we were called here. You knew that we would take these jobs. You knew all of this stuff. You already knew that we would be in this predicament. So what do we do? So we waited. And I think it got to the point where, so we sat down with some friends and we were like, you got to help us with this budget. Okay. Cause we have no money left over. Like there's nothing. And so we looked at it and they were like, can you get rid of your truck? Which was a huge chunk. It was over $600 payment. Like I said, laying everything out on the table for you guys. Okay. Also, mind you, let me add into the fact, so we buy this house. When I don't know how to do something, I kind of just put it on the back burner. It's a flaw of mine, okay? But I'll be open, okay? That's what I do, and I just don't deal with it because that's the mature and smart thing to do, right? Anyways, I'm trying to get better, okay? I've been better. But at the time when we moved here, it was really bad. So one of the things that we just kind of neglected was the homestead tax, whatever thing that is.
Some homestead thing.
Yeah, anyway, so we didn't fill that out. So then our mortgage went up like $200. Which hurt, obviously. So then that added to the chaos, right? Anyways, so like I said, it was all self-induced. I mean, this was things that we did. Nobody put this on us. Like
we were selling things.
But that was a
us.
thing.
It
did. House. It did. It cleaned our house. Like we got rid of so many things. We were like, oh, but I don't want to get rid of it. But then it was like,
yeah.
But why do I need it? Anyway, it was really, really good. It was an awesome process in all that. We got rid of so much stuff. Anyways, so it came down to that whole $635 or whatever it was, a month. That's a pretty good chunk of money. So we were like, you know what? Yeah, like we didn't want to.
That was like our last thing.
It was our last thing. By the way, this truck is not anything souped up. Okay, this was like a base model. We did get it used,
but we love it.
But it only had like 600 something miles on it, and we got the used price. Anyway,
we got 2 kids.
Yeah,
it's like a massive trunk, basically.
Yeah,
we got a bed cover.
Yeah,
keeps all your stuff dry.
Yeah, I guess that would be like the fanciest thing about the truck would be the bed cover.
So nice.
Yeah,
so nice.
It is very nice. So, I say newer.
It was a valuable tool.
Yes. And so we were like, oh man, like because we knew we were going to have to sell that to get basically a piece of junk, essentially.
Something
But
that will just drive.
something that'll get us from point A to point B. So I'm not saying like a piece of junk, but like compared to like what we had, it would be like something that had well over 100,000 miles. That's going to be probably 10 years old, where yes, it'll get you from point A to point B, but the concern is for how long and what's going to happen, right? Those were kind of the fears that were running through our mind, but we were like, you know what, we're going to just do it, because what other option do we have? This is going to save us so much money, so then we can put that into everywhere else. And we were literally going to go Monday, and
This was on Sunday.
this was on Sunday. We were like, we're going to go.
Like tomorrow morning, we're gonna sell the truck.
We're going to go find something. We're going to do something about it. And we get a call, and basically that didn't happen. We got to keep our truck.
Craziness.
Someone so graciously helped us out with that, who didn't even really know the extent of everything. They just didn't want us to get rid of it because they didn't want us to trade that for something that would be less. That would, like I said, the car with lots of miles on it that's older, that wouldn't be as great. Like this truck would last us so much longer. And they just didn't want us to go through that. But we were, like you said, we were ready to drive the knife through it.
Yep. Bringing the Bible into it, of course.
Of course, absolutely.
It was the moment that Abraham lifted the knife to drive through his one and only child, that then the angel said, hang on, whoa, you're good. You know what I mean? And not comparing our truck to Isaac in any way, or the promise that is. But it was our last thing, right? It was our last like piece of, not like holding on to it, but it was so helpful and useful in our life that it was like it was like our last thing. I mean, it hurt to finally go like, all right, we'll get rid of it. You know what I mean? So
this is what we got to do.
And what, in an analogy, I guess, we were driving the knife. We lifted up the knife, ready to go.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, we're gonna sell the thing.
Yeah.
And it was that afternoon that we didn't have to.
Yeah.
Like, so the bill was removed, but we keep the truck.
Yeah.
Which $600 extra a month was
very helpful. As you can imagine, that really cleared us up. So not only that,
took us out of our problem. That was for sure.
Definitely helped a lot. So then not only that though, but in the midst of, so that happened maybe like what, March, April, somewhere. That was like last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And or the year before. No, last year.
I'll be honest, I don't seriously know. Time is so bad.
I don't think it was last year.
I don't remember.
How long have we been here?
We've been
No,
here.
it had to have been last year. Because it was like right when we had moved. Yeah. Okay, because we're going to be here 3. So, yeah. Okay.
We're learning.
It was like within the first year that we were here that all this happened. Anyways, not only that, but going back to my job, I did take a big pay cut to do what I'm doing now, which I knew, didn't care, was like, this is what the Lord has. I know that, full faith in him on that front. And I had been there over a year, had my yearly review, and got like a 7% raise, which is over what they usually get. It's like, we typically only give 3 to 5%. But we felt that you exceeded what we've asked and gave me 7%. I had no idea. I was like in shock. And so that obviously helped too. But that came after the truck. And so it was just this whole thing of like, man, we were really, stressed about it, but also trusting the Lord, but also stressed. If you've ever been in that predicament, you know what that's like. You're like, Lord, I trust you. But like for somebody that's a planner, especially when it comes to like finances, not great place to be. But at the same time, I
Man,
realized
yeah,
like if we had a savings account, that would have been
we never would have
our
learned or
no.
been tested in that sense of
No.
like, and boy does he pull through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every time. I mean, and even during that time where it was like it just continued to be rough and rough and rough,
Mhm.
each month would go by. Um like it felt like we were just getting money in the mail.
Yeah, well, and that was what was crazy too, is that we felt like we'd be like, okay, like we're doing good.
Yeah.
Like we can build our savings just to have something like an emergency fund, Um the Dave Ramsey method. Come on, guys. Anyway.
Gotta have
But
10,000 in the bank.
I think it's only
Is
like
it 15?
1,000. I
Oh,
think it's 1,000 for the emergency fund.
yeah, 10 sounds great.
And then you go from there. Anyways, but the emergency fund is to help get you out of debt,
No,
because the reason you go into debt,
I get it. I get it.
Anyway,
Dave's a good guy.
moving past that. We're not going to get into that. But stuff would happen, like we felt like, okay, finally we can like breathe, and then like there was just different things. He definitely blessed us, and one of the things, we had received some money, and our water heater breaks. No,
Our AC.
our air conditioner,
Yep.
not the water heater, the air conditioner, right after we got this. And I thought
Paid for the whole thing.
it did pay for the whole thing. I was upset at first because I was like, ugh, like we had all this money in our savings, and we thought, okay, like we're in a good spot because now we can focus on getting rid of the other stuff that we shouldn't have. Um, but in that moment, after I pouted a little bit, I realized we didn't have to go into debt for that. Like he provided, he knew that came through right when that
Oh,
it
and the AC company quoted us a unit a year before.
yes,
Like,
when we first moved in, because we were having air conditioner
we
problems.
just wanted to get a quote for it,
Yeah,
just to be safe.
because we
Well,
knew
it finally went out, and they gave us
they
a
honored it.
year-old quote
They honored it.
for
Best
a
AC company ever. They've been amazing.
yeah. Seriously.
Don't know what they're called.
And they
Can't
only
remember.
replace like we could only afford half
Mhm.
of it basically. So the outside unit we needed to keep
Mhm.
as much as we because it still worked.
Mhm.
We just needed the inside unit to be replaced. And then they were able to do just that. So
Yeah.
it was all incredible,
Yeah.
to be honest. We
Yeah.
got the exact amount of money that we needed.
Yep.
And they gave us exactly that was literally all that we could afford, and they gave it to us
Yeah.
without us negotiating or anything.
we
we
didn't
just
even
said,
ask.
"Hey,
Hey, you gave us this
you
quote.
gave us this quote a
Is
year
this
ago," and he's
still-
like, "Oh yeah, sure," and then he did it.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
he truly does bless those who
Yes.
trust in him.
Yes.
And we've had that happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're
So,
the
yeah,
point of
well,
us sharing this.
Yeah,
honestly.
so that happened, and then just recently, so we're expecting our third child. So at the end of July, the hospital called me. First of all, insurance is a scam. You can't convince me otherwise, but whatever. Anyways, it's a fraud. Maybe I should be careful because
But yeah,
that
we
whole
still
thing
haven't
just
canceled.
happened with that guy that like killed the
Oh
CEO.
yeah, true.
So I gotta be careful.
We
Okay,
didn't do
I
that.
had nothing to do with that. Anyways,
We didn't. Do
didn't do that.
that. We'd never go to New York.
I think it's maybe a hot topic to talk about healthcare right now. So anyway, but putting that aside, the hospital called me at like the end of July. I think I'd seen him in June. I'm doing February. Okay. So they called me at the end of July and they're like, hey, your insurance only covers this. This is your deductible. So you basically have to pay this amount of money to the hospital, and you have 6 months to do it. But this month counted as a month because it has to be paid by the end of this year. It has to be paid 2 months before your due date. So I had to have it all paid off by December, and July counted as a month, and it was July 28th. And I'm like, this just doesn't seem fair. Okay.
So
And
mortgage is coming out next week.
yeah. So that happened. And so of course, we were like, okay, cool. And then they're like, oh yeah, your deductible resets at the beginning of the year. So everything that I've paid this year is basically nothing. It just forking it over, because what's going to happen next year, I don't know. But after the story, it's like, I don't really care. The Lord will provide. So I was really stressed about December because I was thinking like, well, we'll have to pay double at some point. And we had tried to kind of get ahead of it, but just things kept happening. And so we couldn't, unfortunately. But they so I was just really stressed about December. I was like, oh, man, like I just want December to be done. Like
And
I
just to
don't.
set it up just a little bit more, we have double payments in December. Our we pay for our phones. We pay
Yeah.
every 3 months. Well, the 3 month
Yeah.
ends in December. Um,
Yeah. You were
all
on
of
your
it.
work
I
trip.
had a trip. Yeah,
Christmas.
Christmas,
We got a baby
obviously.
shower. All of these
So it was like
things.
everything was December was like oh great,
I was
this
like, oh.
the trajectory's not looking good.
So yeah, we're like, I don't even know what's gonna happen here.
Which we're in December right now.
We
Just to
are
point
right,
that
which
out.
is why we can share this testimony because I will gladly skip ahead and tell you December is okay to stay. We don't have to have it be done with.
Yeah.
But so I was super stressed about it. Honestly, I was dreading it. I was like, I don't even know what we're gonna do. Um, and
Let me set this up one more time. Hang on, I got one more thing to set up because obviously you can tell where we're going because we're in. Well, we're not. We're not. Dreading this conversation, but it was a stressor coming over to it, right? Like looking from a distance, we're like, oh great,
yeah,
we're definitely not going to make it. Well, a month, and this is all Lord here. Okay,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to like my heart and my motive and everything is not look at us. I promise
No,
you that.
God, no,
Please
don't.
don't look at me.
Other than just be faithful with your tithing and just trust the Lord because
Those
that's
of
the
you
only thing that we did, I think, right.
Those of
Everything
you on
else.
Amazon, those of you on Apple and Spotify, all you can do is listen to me. So don't look at me.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was just a dumb dad joke. Sorry, but November, I think it was in November. The Lord really was like
Oh
on
yeah.
my heart about giving double what we normally give, which is terrifying because that's like
Yeah, when
okay,
you
well
told me that, obviously it's one of those things you're like,
well, how the heck am I going to argue with
well,
that?
yeah, you can't say no, but you're like,
Oh,
Lord,
little side tangent here.
well, it was more of like, Lord, he better be hearing from you, and this better not be some idea that popped into his head. This better be really you convicting him.
Also, this is completely off topic, but our son will tell us. He said, "Jesus says I can do this one more time." We're
Yeah,
like, "No, he didn't."
yeah, yeah.
But it's also like, how do I know?
I'm like, what if he is hearing from the Lord and I'm telling him?
We
But
say
it
5
has
more
to do
minutes.
with, yeah. He's like, Jesus says that I can eat more candy. It's
Yeah,
like, no,
I don't think
I
so.
just don't think that's the Lord.
Yeah.
He's like,
Anyways,
but it is. Anyway.
so yeah, November's coming around, and I'm like, dude, I just feel like I want to give double. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that we can't, obviously. Or when I say can't, I
Mm-hmm.
know that it'll suck really
Yeah.
bad.
Right.
But like also that whole Malachi test him in this. That's the only time he says it
Mm-hmm.
is to test him with your finances, test him with your tithing,
Mm-hmm.
and we gave double,
Mm.
and that sucked obviously for a
When,
time.
and when we say it sucked, here's the thing. Because the Lord
Well,
wants a
it's just tighter.
joyful.
It's just tighter.
Well, yeah,
I
the
didn't go,
Lord
oh
wants a joyful giver.
yeah. I'm not
Right. So it's not
dreading
like
hitting the
dreading,
send
but
button.
it is like in a human sense, you're just like, man,
I
like this
trust.
is, yeah, like
I mean, that's all I had.
that's all you can
I
do.
just rely on I do trust you. That's pretty
Yes.
much
Yeah. And that when you do that, you're saying, you're saying, I will gladly give this to you because if you're calling me to do this and this is your commandment, then I know that whatever piece that I think I'm lacking, even if you're only giving 10%, um, he's going to take care of you in that sense.
yeah.
You're never going to go without. There's Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say there's always going to be he's always going to provide, like we think, kind of going back to our previous episode of comparison, you think that you're lacking, but he's given you everything that you need.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't look like someone else's.
Yep. So November we give twice, and come December, again we're we have all these stressors of
Mm-hmm.
double payments, phone bill, obviously the regular bills of
Mm-hmm.
everything else, normal living, Christmas gifts,
Mm-hmm.
trips, yada yada. And man, this month's
So
like it's
yeah, to
ridiculous.
go. Remember how in the or earlier in the episode I said that we didn't do our homestead tax thing. So if there's anybody out there that hasn't done it and it's been a few years, let also this be a testimony that you should do it. Because we did fill it out. And they back paid us for the past 2 years. So
This month they gave it to us.
yeah, we had no idea when they were going to do that. I think we had filled out that paperwork like a few months ago. We had no idea. We thought it'd probably be next year when they redid everything. But no, they back paid us and it showed up literally at the beginning of this month, right when we needed it. And then other things came in, work bonuses, whatever the case may be. And now think and again, this isn't like, oh, look at us, look at this financial thing. No. I'm really telling
It has
you
nothing to do with
it has
money.
nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with the Lord will provide. And even if let's say you're financially stable, like you have maybe this is like, well, I don't have these issues. Good for you. Send me some teachings. Anyway, but on a more serious note, there's other things in your life that maybe you could give 10% or maybe you could give a sacrifice that maybe you're afraid to, even if it's not with your finances. Maybe you're like, oh, 10% cool, like that doesn't bother me. It's not a sacrifice for you, but there's other things. Maybe it's your time, maybe it's your resources. um Give him that if he's calling you to, because he will restore it. It may not be immediately.
Yeah.
um but when you look back, you're like, I'm so glad that I trusted him and that I didn't rely on my own understanding, because I would have missed out and probably created some sort of mess.
Yeah.
um and now looking back, it's like this month that I was so stressed out about being probably one of the hardest months of our year, it is now probably the most prosperous that we've had. And
Yeah.
it's all glory to God. Nothing that we did, nothing
Yeah.
that we asked for. It was just literally, I'm just honestly, I'm just shocked.
Yeah, when you see his faithfulness come through, it's I mean, it blows you away. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because it well, one, it's always through like practical ways too. I've noticed like it's like, well, Christmas bonuses or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but it's like for me, it's like perfect timing. It's crazy. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like, and you know, it's the hand of the Lord is on it when it's like at the beginning of the month, we just get
Yeah.
hit with,
Well, I mean,
hey, we're okay.
going
You know
with
what I mean?
Christmas bonuses, we knew that I was probably going to get one. It is more of the end of the year bonus. I had gotten them the past 2 years, so we knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But one, it was more than we
Yeah.
were expecting, but also you got one
Yeah,
that
which I
we
don't.
were not expecting, because
Yeah.
past 2 years you haven't had one. Which no fault to anybody there or anything. It's just that wasn't
Yeah.
something that we were
And then
expecting.
also like another thing that we were dreading was my trip, right? Like there was kind of like
Yes.
I'm going away, I'm gonna be eating out, I'm gonna be buying
Yeah.
dumb things, whatever. Well, it was just blessing
Yeah.
over and over again. Where I think my total trip cost me $8. I bought
Yeah.
2 sweet teas in the airport, and like
Those are expensive
it was
sweet teas.
yeah. Well, it's the
I
airport,
mean, yeah.
$4 a pop, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just like it's crazy how the Lord will bless.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with money. It
No.
just it's the willingness to trust. I think the
Yes.
heart posture of obedience
Mm-hmm.
and faithfulness. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest, and like His faithfulness obviously blows our faithfulness
Yeah.
out of the water, but it blows us away, and it. I mean, still every single
Yeah.
time. It's like, wow, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So if you are like us and maybe financially you're thinking like, well, 10%, I don't have 10% to give it. And this isn't some prosperity crap where it's like, well, you give to receive. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just trust the Lord. He gave us this commandment for a reason. And when we do things out of fear versus trusting Him, it's never going to lead to something. You holding on to that, is it really going to make a difference in your month? Or is it like, you know what, Lord, you gave me this commandment. You didn't just give it like for no reason. You said, and maybe, I mean, the Bible does talk about 10%. However, I do know that there's some people that maybe can't, really, they can't
Right.
truly
And
give
you know,
that.
and Paul addresses that talking about
Yeah.
give, you know,
Give,
you know what you
you know what you
should
can.
and what you're capable of giving.
What's going to stretch you?
Again, with that heart,
Yes.
and we also know that it doesn't depend, or it has nothing to do once again with money, or the value or how much, because we have the widow that he sees, right? She gives one penny
all
or
she
whatever,
had. She gave
right?
the 2 coins.
But she did it in faith, and
Yeah.
she did it with that
That was everything she had.
heart of faith of like, I'm still gonna do it. This is my last possible effort here, right? And Jesus says that she was the one that walked away blessed more than those who were rich, giving the 10%.
Giving 10%, yeah.
So value has nothing to do with
Right,
it.
right.
It has everything to do with your heart and your willingness to
And maybe you
obey and
start
trust.
small too, you know, like,
Test them.
yeah, like, Lord, I don't know. This is new to me. Obviously, he knows your situation. And he knows what you're going through. And so just ask him, like, what do you want me to give?
Yep.
Maybe it's $5. Maybe it's a penny. I don't know, you know, but just trust him with whatever he puts on your heart. And again, even if you don't see that on this side of eternity, there's treasures that have been stored up in heaven with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But again, it's a joyful giving. Just want to throw that out there. It's not this dreaded, oh, I guess I'll give this, or, you know, not just to check the box. It's a, Lord, I trust you with this. You've given me this opportunity, and I'm going to do the very best that I can with what I have and what I know how to do.
So, like, obviously local bodies are good to give to, because that's, you know,
yes.
Well, they, you know, God set up the system in a way where we all fund, you know, the body, basically. The body funds the body. Yeah. And that's in Jesus's time. He's walking the earth with his disciples and other, you know, what's her name? The lady who was with King
Joanna?
Joanna,
Is
I
that
think.
the lady?
She's like, you know, they're giving everything to fuel the ministry.
Yes.
Which is what we're also supposed to be doing.
Right.
So, like, you know, obviously give to your local church.
Yeah. Or if there's like a mission
trips
or
like
yeah,
that.
or charities or whatever.
Yeah.
That's on your heart that you feel the Lord has placed there. Again, that's still obedience, and that's still what he's calling us to do. And I think, like, we forget, like I think especially to your local body, and to be faithful to whatever church you're going to, tithing that 10% and making it the first thing that you do. Like, Abel was considered righteous, and I don't want to say favored necessarily, but favored because he gave the first of his produce. Like, he gave the first of everything he had, where Cain didn't do that. He gave the leftovers, and the Lord doesn't want our leftovers, not with our time, not with our money, not with anything that we have. He doesn't want what we have left. He wants us to trust him and to be faithful and to give him that first fruit, and to say, I don't care what happens. I'm not looking at the rest of the month or the year, whatever it is. I'm going to give you this first fruit because I trust you, and I know that this isn't going to go, you know, in the trash. It's there for a reason.
Yep.
I think that's kind of all I have to say on that point.
Yeah.
Did I forget anything?
I don't think so. Sounds good to me. Test them. Give it a shot.
Yeah. But I hope this is encouraging, because I just, and again, this, just to end on that again, it has nothing to, oh, look at us, look at what he's done for us. But it also is, I know, like look at what he's done for us, because who are we? We don't deserve anything, you know, and it's only by his grace and by his love and his mercy that we have anything that we have. And that can be said for anybody here on this planet. But Really do put your faith in him. And faith is trusting things that you can't see and believing in that. And it can be scary, but you can do things scared. You can do things afraid. He's not asking you to be tough and brave, and you gotta take that leap of faith, man.
Yep. Amen.
So we'll end with that. I hope it was encouraging. I hope it made sense. We may have been all over the place, but had to backtrack on a few years. I don't even remember what I did yesterday. So
Yeah. Amen. All right. God bless you guys. See you guys in the next one.